Confessions of a modern magus. I am not your typical magician. Any sleight of hand is simply a trick of light. Oh, that strange light, flashing blue, sometimes red, a glinting off the waves. For you see, being alone, for lo, these 15 years, raising a daughter of my own, on my own, not counting my slave and my sprite. Everyone needs domestic assistance. Oh, my long sojourn on this isle of sweet sounds and rough magic has taken its toll. Oh, my daughter and I are used to the salt air and clear sand of this uncharted, nay, enchanted isle. My Ariel, my chick, cluing me in to shipping lanes and forecasts, weddings and near misses, and lo, the time was ripe, and indeed it is never too late for revenge. No statute of limitations in this spot. Ah, my mortal enemies jousting with a magus will be entertaining at the least, and a path to redemption at the most. The reckoning, making it simple, backstories being quite prodigious, I, magus that I am, worked it all out. So, after all the hullabaloo, harpies dinners and engagement parties, it pays to have goddesses at your beck and call. The final reveal. Scales falling from eyes right and left, we arrive at the final lesson. To forgive is a virtue. Yes. As long as you still get your fine new duds, handy sharp swords, speedy ships, and second chances to rule. Bon voyage. Thank you. Well, I love the Tempest take on magic, but it's the ineffability of the natural elements that I think steal the show. My first poem is in 2 parts. Bud Sport. 1. Entering the surf, riding the blades, I mow. I make flat-top lanes until the vegetable vortex draws me into my own Bermuda Triangle. I devour. Prime grip, rev, roll, clip, dump, sail, tip, press, slip, low tide, lawn, sea shorn. I disappear. 2. My 3 buds chase through grass high to their knees, plunging across, translucent with delight, waves taking their bodies, their smiles, their same delight, sending a message straight up to the sun. Twin radiance, shared shed radiance, beaming from between the blades. Enchanted ground, knowing certainly that these kinds of creatures do exist, these buds just sprouting wings. So I like to share this next poem as a suite of 3 short poems. Well, so it's 3 short poems, each with their own title. Bathing children. Little berms of rounded faces, torsos, knees emerge from the bathwater. The matted soap on their hair dissolves and rings their bodies in a thin white line of foam. Quietly, they try not to dip their eyes beneath quietly, they try not to dip their eyes beneath the surface of the water. Floating and transfiguring within the hollow porcelain, 2 gentle manes sail outward. Mother of pearl, My children are losing their first teeth so quickly now. Such whistling gaps. Such wisdom. These seeds will grow beneath their pillows by the warmth of their heads. Their last bit of babyhood, pushed out by the tools of grown-ups. Preordained journeys to the knowledge of big teeth. Trick chorus. I am always the last to fall asleep. The music of the hapless chorus drifts above my head like a necromancer's trick to conjure voices. I slip down the hall, heading into the mist of disembodied sleeping sounds. As their sleep becomes a deeper thing, the hiss and drone, exhausted and unconscious breathings become my lullaby. Thank you. Thanks. Super. Thank you. So, now, from their childhood to mine. I didn't realize this when I chose this poem. I grew up on 27 magical acres of land in the Upper Ojai Valley from age 7, essentially my own enchanted isle, a paradise, a crucible for my imagination. The Grape Hill, take the hill, the heart of freedom. From the fold, hemming in horses, we rode freedom bareback, bridled by a skill in handling the child's steed. Halter, bridle, shoe, bit, coffin bone, gentlemen, farmers' daughters, gaits, figure eights, lopes, leaps, beating strolls. This loosening of souls up the Grape Hill. Our thoroughfare through a dwarf forest of vines, needlepoint of muscat, tokay, zinfandel, breath and muscle gathered at the gate. Trot to the bend, shoot to the rise, play out the straightaway, ultimate paddling up the last perpendicular swell where stunted plants roll down with centrifugal force, the stones, hooves, color, buttons, braids. The boundary, ultima thule, the reward, a glimpse of some other's pasture, taking the flotsam of thought out to its sea. This, a sign, a heave of relief, and a return down the hill to rows, cross-stitched grades, rolling and blown horizontal by a breath. Riding your horse on your own land. Oh, it's fun. Not quite bareback. Couldn't do that. So, my final piece is a short true story, which also happens to end one of my solo shows about motherhood, which I call At Home with the Aliens. That's the solo. That's the solo show. Behold, dream. Somewhere I heard that the mother is in charge of the spiritual domain of her home, the psychic health of her family. Her presence is a kind of being. 2 nights ago, Tim, who's 9, stumbled into our bedroom. Well, he'd had a bad dream. Oh, I don't feel so good, Mom. I don't feel well. Something is missing. He said, something is missing. So he went back to bed. And then last night, well, we talked about it again. He told me about a recurring bad dream he'd been having. In it, well, a huge map of America materialized. A garbage bag covering the center over Nebraska, I don't know, Wisconsin, I can't remember. And John Travolta as Michael, the archangel, with long hair and a long black coat, was pursuing him. Tim was afraid he'd die if the figure caught him. So far, he'd managed to float away, he told me, like from his grasp, darting up sideways and up just in time. But he kept having the dream. So he wasn't sure how long he could keep it up. So he asked me to dream the dream for him. No. Actually, he asked, could you dream it with me tonight? No one had ever invited me into their dream. Well, I gladly accepted. I said how honored I was, and no one had ever asked me into their dream before. And he looked puzzled, and he said, is this a good thing or a bad thing? I said, no, this is very good. With a grin as wide as a map of America, he opened his 2 round arms and pressed his round cheek against mine. That night, I dreamed 2 dreams. Tim dreamed none.